practices?
I learned that we got a talented group. We're going to be really inexperienced. We lost some of the key players like the Sammy Coates, the Ricardo Lewises, the C.J. Yazamas, the guys that have made plays over the years. So they're a moldable group, and I think they work hard. And like I said, each practice we got better. So I was really impressed.
Talk about guys raising that level, rising to the occasion. A-Day, obviously just a lot of guys out there, but really other than maybe a long throw or two to Marcus, nobody really showed out as far as overwhelmingly statistically, but on tape, did anybody stand out?
Yeah, I mean, in the A-Day game, as Coach Malzahn mentioned, we were really vanilla in everything we did. We tried to keep it simple. But throughout the spring, I think Marcus Davis was definitely our leader. Ryan Davis did improve as well. Darius Slayton did some good things. Stanton True and Cal Davis, as we all know, were out. Jason Smith improved. Collectively, I think we all improved as a group. Each and every day we got better, and we still got a long way to go. We got to get that mental and physical tough edge back, and we're going to get it. It just takes time.
Marcus can play all four positions, but are you going to look to park him at the 2 or the 5, or are you going to move him around?
Marcus will be a guy that we're going to move around. I believe he can play multiple positions for us. I think he's a guy that is the quarterback at the receiver group. He knows the offense. He understands it. He knows what it takes, and he's actually played as a freshman. And so some of these young freshmen coming in, he can help them out and teach them the ropes.
Yeah, how big is that? I mean, Coach Malzahn's mentioned you guys are going to need at least 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of those guys to step up immediately and contribute in some capacity. How much are you looking forward to just hearing the feedback about their workouts when they get here this summer?
Yeah, I mean, just based off of numbers right now, those guys have to come in and help us out. And I believe they're going to be prepared too. We're going to get them ready. And the good thing is that now the NCAA switched the rules to where we can work with guys 2 hours a week, and so that'll be big, especially for these young guys. Getting them in here this summer, being able to work with them, and we're gonna get it done.
What kind of receiver is Eli Stove, and how would he kind of fit in the system? Where would you look at him at?
Eli Stove is a guy that we can move as well to multiple positions. He's a guy that you got to get the ball in his hands. He's going to be a guy that can develop into a really good receiver, I believe, here. And just like all these guys, they're really talented, but we do have to understand they are freshmen. I don't care what you did in high school. It's a different level now. You're playing against different competition. Even in practice, it's going to be different. So we just got to get them in here, get them coached up, teach them the ropes, and I think they'll all be fine.
What were you able to do with Kyle Davis this spring, considering the shoulder injury, and did you see him progress at all, and what did you learn about him?
Well, the good thing with Kyle is that he was able to get a spring underneath his belt, even though he didn't practice, which was fine. He can see how we do things. He can see how I coach. He can see how I teach. So that was really good for him to be able to sit back and say, hey, coach, what I do on this route? What do you think on this play? So he was in the meetings. He was at practice. We worked with him after practice, before practice. So he got mental reps as well as physical reps. So just having him around was really big this spring.
And Nate Craig, same thing with, I'm sure, a lot of the similarities between him and Eli is just not being here yet, but a lot of people look at him as an outside receiver guy. Do you look at him as primarily he's going to be an outside role? Or?
Yeah, once again, the biggest thing for us is finding the best 11 guys to put on the field. And that's the same with receiver, finding the best 4 guys that we have and figuring a way to get them on the field. So right now, we don't know. I think he can be an outside receiver, but Nate can also be an inside receiver. We just don't know yet because he's not here.
You mentioned Ryan Davis before, and his legal matter notwithstanding, he was competing obviously with Jason in that slot spot. Did either one of them take a lead out of the slot in the spring?
Coming out of spring, I thought that they both did a really good job. They're 2 different receivers. I think Jason does some really good things in the vertical game. Ryan does as well, but also Ryan's really good with the ball in his hands. So although they did play the same position, they're 2 different receivers, and that's a really good thing because it will be versatile when one is in and the other one's not.
Whatever Coach Malzahn ends up deciding is the punishment for those players, are you going to have a separate punishment for Ryan?
Yeah, we've already addressed everything, and everything's going to be handled appropriately. We know exactly what happened, and that's already been fixed.
After Marcus, did you feel like there was any separation as far as, do you feel like there's a good pecking order coming out of the spring, or is that something you're just going to, they get back in the fall and just start it over again?
I think there's a decent pecking order, but these new guys coming in, they're going to have every opportunity, just like the other guys in the spring did. So this summer's going to be big for them. And like I said, we got to figure out who the best 11 are, and from my standpoint, who the best 4 receivers are to put on the field at the same time.
Darius and Tony also plays kind of same position, and who's got the lead? I mean, most people are going to figure that the seniors got the lead there, but is that just plain the case that the experience is there?
Both are going to play. Tony does have experience. Darius is young. He played a lot of DB in high school as well as receiver, but that's a good thing. I think he's raw. But we're going to develop him into a pretty good receiver. And he had a really good spring. He improved each and every practice. And Tony's a guy, once again, he's a senior, a lot like Marcus, that you can move around from an outside receiver to an inside receiver. So we have some really good depth and versatility there.
I was going to say, you like those guys more at the split end, or you like them at the Y, or?
We just don't know because everybody's not here yet. We don't have the collective group here. We'll have a better idea when all the receivers get here together. Then we can kind of figure out an order and where to put everybody.
How motivated do you think Stanton is a little bit, just because he's had to deal with so many injuries and hasn't quite had that season that we've been seeing glimpses of possibly for him?
I think Stanton's extremely motivated. He's a guy that does a lot on his own. He's ready to get back. Just like you mentioned, he's been a guy that's been banged up. He's been injured, so people have really not got a chance to see what he can do. And I think he feels that way as well. So we're really excited about having him back healthy and ready to go for fall camp.
What do you think he's capable of?
Stanton was a track guy coming out of high school, so he's a guy that you can also get the ball in his hands and do some good things. And we'll have to see. He didn't go through spring. I just got here. So we'll see a little bit more in the summertime.
Coach Malzahn's always seemed to bring in former quarterbacks who also played receiver, and obviously you're one of them. How advantageous is that, you think, for a receiver that has that experience playing quarterback at some point in their career in high school or college?
I think it's really important because you as a quarterback, you have to understand the game of football. You don't have to just understand your position. You have to know all of them. And so I think that goes a long way as far as in the coaching aspect, as well as the kids being able to trust you, because they understand that, hey, even though he is the receivers coach, he understands the entire offense. He understands the scheme. He understands what the quarterback's reads are, what the offensive lineman's steps are. And I think that goes a long way because then they build confidence in that, and they know that, hey, it all works together. And so they have to do their job to help everybody out.
You've talked a lot about development, and obviously with such a young group that's a major focus. And you have 4 talented freshmen coming in as well. Between Ricardo's comments that were somewhat misinterpreted and then clarified, etc., but the bottom line is there are knocks about this offense, and particularly the wide receivers, both with Sammy and Ricardo. Everybody during the NFL draft, every analyst is talking about, well, it's out of that Auburn system and route running, and they're great vertical guys, but don't see a lot of variety. How do you kind of combat that perception as a receivers coach and go about correcting it if you can, as far as route running ability for these guys?
Well, as far as what was said, I was not here, so I can't comment on that. But I do know that we have every single route and route tree that we practice every single day. We will develop our receivers here. That's not an issue. I think that whatever the guys on ESPN say that are not here to practice every single day, and they just watch a few clips of tape and here and there, they can do whatever they want to say. But I know exactly how we run our offense here, and we put our guys in position to make plays, and that's kind of what we've always done, and I feel pretty good about it.
I had a couple of policy things for you, Cody. They talked about how in 2017 the coach is going to get video replay in the box and during halftime, but they've said there's going to be broadcast footage, not coaches' film, and that surprised a lot of people. As a wide receivers coach in particular, is there any value whatsoever to broadcast footage where your guys aren't even going to be in frame? So what will you even be able to do off of that? I know it's not even for a year plus, but still, what are you even going to be able to do with that when you're teaching your guys during the game?
Yeah, I mean, it really all depends on your coaching style. When that gets here, we'll kind of see, because like you mentioned, it is new, and I'll kind of see when it does happen in 2017 how we're going to handle that.
What have you noticed that's different about being a full-time coach at Auburn compared to Middle Tennessee when you've hit the recruiting trail here these last few weeks?
Well, I mean, Middle Tennessee was an awesome job. Had a great experience, learned a lot from Coach Stockstill. We had a great offensive staff as well as defensive staff, and we had some of the top receivers in the country there. And the difference is, and I don't care where you go, that when you go into a school and you have an Auburn logo on your chest, it's a little bit different. You should, automatically being a kid's top 5 just off of the school and the SEC. So that's the biggest difference, is that we're going after the top kids in the country here, and that's the standard, and that's what we expect to do, and we're going to get those guys.
How many receivers are you guys looking at for 2017 to sign? A range, I guess.
Yeah, a range. We don't have an exact number yet. We got to see how things play out as far as numbers, as far as different positions. Last year we took 4. So somewhere around that number, 3 to 4 is probably pretty accurate.
How much of an impact has cost of attendance had on the recruiting trail? You've obviously seen it now at 2, well, really 3 for a very short period of time there, but a couple different institutions, a couple of different numbers. Everybody freaked out last year about the potential for the money being involved, but most coaches have said it's kind of negligible. But how much of an impact have you seen it have?
Yeah, I think that all SEC schools and Auburn is probably at the top of really that cost of attendance, but all SEC schools do it. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think it does help in our favor a little bit, but that's really not been discussed much. I think it gets a little bit more discussed closer towards signing day.
How much are you looking forward to these satellite camps? I know it's been a back and forth issue, but getting out there, not only the camps on campus, but you guys got at least 3 between the one in Mississippi, 2 in Georgia, and talking about Florida, hitting the road and going out to these camps at different parts of the country.
Yeah, we briefly talked about it. This is Auburn, and we're able to get kids on campus here, and so that's our main focus. Yes, satellite camps I think can help in your favor, but at the same time I think that we can get kids to our campus on our own because once again this is Auburn and that's what we expect.
Going back to when you made that transition from quarterback to receiver, how long did it take you? Because you said you understood the game, but how long did it take you before you felt comfortable in just what you had to do as receiver each and every day at practice and whatnot?
Well, I felt pretty comfortable after about a couple of weeks because I was such a decent athlete. I was pretty good as an athlete, so the transition was not that hard. I think the biggest thing was understanding how to catch the ball. I had never caught passes in my life. I always played quarterback and had the ball in my hand, and I was throwing it, but I never caught it. So just getting on the jug machine, doing different ball drills, understanding how to catch the ball was the biggest hurdle that I had to do.
Is that the same kind of timetable you would think for a guy like Jason or a guy like, there's so many guys in your room that are going through the same kind of transition that you went through?
No, it's different for different people.
Yeah.
And it took me 2 to 3 weeks to get comfortable, but I wasn't a real receiver until my senior year. So I went through an entire junior year to where I felt comfortable, but there was still a lot of things that have to get cleaned up to be a true receiver by my senior year. So it takes time. And Jason Smith, like you mentioned, was a guy that played quarterback in high school. And the transition is always going to be a little bit different.
Yeah.
It's going to be difficult, and he's done a good job so far.
John Franklin III drew a lot of attention earlier this week with his meeting with Michael Vick and his trainer and coach and stuff. And just as a coach on the staff, is that exciting to see? And because obviously Gus's policy had previously been not for guys to do things like that, so you know if that policy has changed, and you're excited to see him work with those kind of guys? Or?
Yeah, I'm extremely excited to see him. And the biggest thing that stands out to me is that's a guy that's working. He's constantly working on his craft, and it's not just spring practice. It's not during the window of spring practice. It's even on off days. It's outside of the window of spring practice, and he's a guy that's hungry. And so you really get excited about seeing that and hearing things like that John Franklin's working in the off season.
How could that bleed through the rest of the team maybe in this off season?
Well,
they see that.
Whenever you see anybody from the quarterback position as a player, that's your leaders. That's who you follow. So when you see the type of work ethic that he's putting in, you only want to follow the exact same thing that he's doing.
D-line a couple of years back, I know you were around for it, worked with Chuck Smith in the offseason. A bunch of them went over to Atlanta. I don't know if they're going to do it again this year. Would you like to see your guys go and do something like this with an individual trainer or group of trainers or something like that? I know there's not a lot of wide receiver gurus out there necessarily, but I'm sure there's somebody. Is there someone you'd like for them to go see?
There's 1,000 different ways to coach receivers, and that's any position. And I feel really confident in what we're teaching and what we're doing here. But like I said, I'm not opposed to guys going out and doing different things, but they understand that when they come back, we're going to do it my way. So that's not a problem at all.